welcome to this podcast series by CLEAN, where we bring to you stories from the DRE sector. Uh, Today, in this episode, we have with us Mr. Amogh Mukunda from Mesha Energy Solutions. Hi, Amogh.
Hi, good morning. Abhishek, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, we'll begin
Yes,
with the questions right away.
sure.
My first question to you is what does your company do?
Yeah, so Mesha Energy Solutions has been around for about close to 8 years now. We started out being one of the first of few companies who wanted to get into the production and development of ultra capacitors. Way back in 2012, early 2013, and we in fact got the technology from IISc, licensed it there, and then um, worked extensively on bringing it to the market. Right from you can say that we worked on the concept, and from the concept we took it to context, right, where it underwent a whole product life cycle, where end of our whole testing, we deployed it in the field, and we saw a lot of success. So just to give a touch upon the ultra capacitor bit, ultra capacitors were basically used as alternate energy storage solutions to protect batteries from degrading very quickly, and that's how we used it in our different applications. And the technology is kind of very interesting because it's now getting a lot of prominence with electric vehicles and power density based applications becoming more prevalent. And so we were probably early in the market, and also the technology, while it was very good, had some limitations in terms of how it can have an economic impact from a product costing perspective. So that's where we had to kind of pivot 6 years after we started with the ultra capacitors. Now we are doing slightly a very different process. Um, what we're doing for the last couple of years is we've done extensive research on coming out with a derivative of the ultra capacitor, which we call as it's more like a chemical compound, which is going to be used in batteries. So initially, what we were doing is we were connecting the battery in parallel with the ultra capacitor outside and giving it as a solution. But now we are embedding that inside the battery itself while it's being done. So the battery, which is going to be a resultant battery of this particular compound mixed with the other chemicals when they make the battery, will enhance it to a very high level where the batteries have a higher power density and the energy density, making it a very exciting proposition for the different applications where it will be deployed.
That's great. Uh, So you already answered how your company started, but I
Mhm.
want to ask you, why did you start this company?
Okay, so the story behind this is very simple. So basically, our investors and upper management company basically are from the US, and one of the things in US that was really hitting them hard is seeing how the peak power demand is you know uh, kind of having a very high opportunity, right? So the peak power demand is for farmers where they charge 3 to 4 times the power cost, right? The cost of power that they buy from the government is charged like 4x, and for them it's very very difficult to kind of make amends there. So one of the ideas was to use the ultra capacitor to give them a short time, a device which is able to charge very quickly and kind of store for some time and be used in times where there's a peak power demand. So that was what was the whole genesis of us working on the ultra capacitors. And we thought about doing that, rather testing it in India, because India has very similar problems, but in different avenues, and we won't find a better testing ground than India. So that was the whole genesis. And yeah, I mean, from there on, I think we are looking very very uh, positive about how this technology can be used across the globe. But having said that, we had some limitations where we had to pivot, right? I mean, we had to change our direction and focus. But I think off late, what we are trying to do is looking at solutions where lead acid batteries already exist, and we're trying to see how we can kind of provide a better solution there that will help in reducing the operational expenses. for the end customers.
Okay. And in these 8 years that you've been working, even in the Indian market, can you share a few success stories from the field?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think one of the very prevalent use cases that comes to my mind is that um, instances where there is a livelihood kind of a machine that's running. What happens is the sizing of or the rather the configuration of a solar livelihood system is usually oversized, and with the solution that we put out, we were trying to reduce the configuration sizing itself while meeting the performance parameters, thereby showing some incremental capex for the end customer, but have a huge savings on the opex. So for example, if you're looking at say an end customer who is either a tailor or someone, right? So for that person to invest in this and then not have too much of a operating expense where they have to replace a battery or any other component, often is a win-win, because whatever they are able to save from the proceedings that they get from using the machine can be used as their profit. And either if they're taking it on loan, they can pay off the loan, or they can use the money for their livelihood. That's all livelihood is, right? So that's one of the cases. So with the ultra capacitor, we worked on quite a few different applications. So we worked on a project with the DST where we put out close to about 1,000 houses. We lit up across different climatic conditions, different regions in the country, right from Karnataka to Orissa and the Northeast, all 7 states, and then looked at Sikkim, looked at North India, all the way to Kashmir, and we also looked at Rajasthan. So all these, and Andaman, of course. So we've had a lot of these kind of experiences, and of course we worked with leading companies like ABB to work on a specific use case to see how we can use the ultra capacitors to um, handle the surges so that there is no real load pressure that's given on the batteries, right? So these are some of the use cases I can think of. And yeah, I mean, all of these are success stories, because that was something that we did with with the ultra capacitor. No other company has done it before. Yeah, I mean, being first is always good, right? Maybe it was early in the market, but yeah, so those can be some of the different varied use cases that we looked at. One of the other interesting things we did was we have put we did put our ultra capacitors and battery combination system in in a farmhouse very close to Bangalore, about 100 kilometers from Bangalore, where the center uses this to um, run the whole place, right? There is TV, microwave, they have water pumps and all that, and the place is very interestingly used for a Sunday class, right? So they pick up kids from the nearby village, and they're got to the place where they're taught vocational training skills and more English, because one of the things that happens with all these tier 3, tier 4 towns is that English is not really taught to them. And when they graduate out of school or go finish their college or the 12th standard, right? So they come without too much of training in English, and many jobs in the cities demand that. So that is one of the things where we are associated with, and that place has been running the last 4.5 years now. So I mean, it shows that the units definitely do work.
Those are some amazing success stories. Thank you for sharing with them. Sharing.
Thank you.
Uh, so now my next question to you is, in these years of your experience with the
Mhm.
company, what have you learned from the DRE sector?
So I think there has been a lot of work that's happened in the last, at least 6-7 years that I've been following the DRE sector. Of course, there's a lot of room for improvement, but one of the things that I don't really see is, the connect from the government side, or rather the help that they could give in terms of subsidy to make this uh, a choice, right? Not a choice, but make this a mandate for people who really can't afford, power, right? So the DRE, uh, while has its own share of innovations that's happening over the years, I think there should be some kind of a charter which makes it a mandate to get some of these systems out there so that it really helps bridge the gap, so that the people who are the end users can benefit out of it. From our solution perspective, yeah, we did work with a lot of DRE leaders, and sometimes what happens is the technology fit. So we're trying to find that. I think from that in the phase one, it was not really. It was more of a cost-based thing. Uh, Even though we did a lot of pilots, it didn't convert into the next stage. But having said that, with our new initiative, what we are doing with the battery manufacturers per se, we expect it to take it to the last mile, right? I think we're in the last mile. We want to see it get get installed in most of these places, because the value that it brings across to the either the investors or the end users is on the total return of investment. So we feel that with our solution, the return of investment may be a much quicker one compared to what they're using today.
That's great. And what changes do you foresee in the sector in the coming future?
It's a very interesting question. I think organizations like yours are working very hard to kind of help with that particular aspect. But some of the things that I would want to see is how DRE can kind of survive in parallel to the other things that are there running today, like the places which are connected to the ESCOMs and all that, because DRE is very prevalent in places where DISCOMs can't enter, right? The DISCOMs usually uh, have their own set of agenda and then they work on that. But I've heard a lot of places where it's very expensive to afford them. So if there is some kind of a policy, or I don't know, I mean, if there is some kind of an opening that will help all the people who are working in the DRE sector to spread their wings, I think that will be good. I think most of them are on the mission, but I think they've hit close to about just 4 or 5% of the total thing. So there's still a lot of opportunity, and I think there's still ways to go about. And I think one of the things that is increasingly happening is the access to finance. I think it's kind of taking shape, making it more affordable for the end users, and coming out with different kind of business models to see how it can be made affordable for them so that they can repay it and still keep on using it on the technology front. So I think with access to finance, with some government intervention, with the innovations in technology, I would see that the next 5 or 10 years maybe we should see some good progress.
Right. And any changes due to the current ongoing COVID-19 crisis?
In with respect to the sector, or with respect to our company, what are you?
Both.
Okay, so I mean, from a company perspective, of course, I think it's sad to say that I know everyone has been hit in this period, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a very tough situation. So I think we are trying to see how we can kind of get out of this model, as most of them are. But to be honest, we haven't done too much on a particular solution for to address COVID-19 directly. But you know, I think that the batteries that are coming out with our additive have got it in them to work in conditions where it'll be really useful from a dairy sector. Even though we don't have an option today that to pilot it, we are looking forward to see if we can work with someone in the future. And from the sector itself, I think there have been a lot of good stuff that the dairy partners are doing, or the whole sector has been shaping up, where people have come out with some innovative tech to kind of provide the necessary things in the sector to bridge the gap, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who don't have access to good hospitals, or there's no power in the hospital, etc. So I think I see a lot of, I do follow people like Selco and all are doing quite a bit in terms of providing that necessary thing to enable power for all these places. So I think that's a great thing.
Great. I think those were all my questions for you. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much for your time, and thank you
Sure.
everyone who is listening and watching this podcast.